Hello, I'm Jim Roberts. I'm the host of Senior Living in Alexandria. We're here in the month of October and we're ready for another useful, I hope, segment of Senior Living in Alexandria. And as we explained, this show is for the benefit of seniors, but not just seniors, but their family, friends, people in the community. And we try to present useful information to that audience. I'm pleased to have with me Chris Wright. And he's going to talk today about Senior Law Day in Alexandria. This will be the sixth in a series of Senior Law Days they've had in Alexandria. He'll give us a little bit of background on that, but I'm pleased to introduce Chris Wright. He's with the firm of Vogelman, Turner, and Wright, but his job here is to, he's one of the four organizing members of the group that's organizing Senior Law Day, and he's got vast legal experience on any number of topics, but today we're going to focus on Senior Law Day. So, Chris, glad to have you here and glad to see you.
Good to be
here. As a start off, introduce yourself. How did you wind up in family law? I think is what's the topic, and how did you wind up in it, and what's your practice look like?
So, I'm involved with the Alexandria Bar Association, and my practice is in Old Town Alexandria. And this would be the second year I'm helping out with Senior Law Day. And the topic this year is family law. But my practice is mostly estate planning. But this year, being I think the fifth year that we're having the Senior Law Day, each year we try to do a topic that we think would be helpful to seniors and their family. And so this year's topic is family law.
How long has the committee been working on this particular section? How long have you all been active?
So we start working on each year's program around the month of February.
Oh, okay.
And we first put together what we think would be a useful program. And then as we get closer to the event, we start working on logistics, for example, location and that sort of thing.
So you said this year's topic, what's the date first?
So the date is Saturday, October 17th from 8:30 to 12:30. And it's going to be at the First Baptist Church of Alexandria. It's on King Street. Same location we've actually had it for several years.
And you said family law. That can be broad or narrow, or how, in terms of this program, how are you, what are the components of family law?
So this year, the topic family law, we're going to talk about things like divorce, prenuptial agreements, custody of children, visitation rights, and we're also going to talk about, we're even going to expand it past what traditionally would be family law in the minds of an attorney. We're going to talk about things like death and dying and who would be good for appointment of a guardian of your minor children. We're also going to talk about issues that grandparents might face if they find themselves raising their grandchildren, and that's sort of the idea.
How is it's one day?
Yes, it's just a half day. It's in the morning.
How is that time organized then? What would people expect if they
sign
up for it?
If they attend, we always have a light breakfast. And the event is free and it's open to the public.
Seniors like free breakfast?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
And so it'll kick off with a keynote speaker, and then we'll get from the keynote speaker, we'll go right into our first panel.
Do they break up into groups for that, or does the entire group stay together for the first panel? And how many panels are there?
So there'll be two panels.
Two panels, okay.
And the entire group stays together.
Okay, so they don't have to choose.
Yeah, no, there wouldn't, not like a breakout session or anything like that. It's just one auditorium where you have one panel. There'll be a break in between, and then there'll be a second panel, and then we'll conclude.
Okay, and what's the topics for the two panels?
So the first panel is going to consist of attorneys only, and that's where the audience will be able to hear broad overview of the legal issues that apply in these areas. You know, what is a divorce? What does it mean? how do you get a divorce, that sort of thing. What goes into prenups? What is a prenup? How do I know if I need one? What if I do have one? What does it mean? And then we would move into visitation rights. How do you get them? Who gets them? That sort of thing.
Okay. What's the second panel then?
So the second panel is going to be, we're going to talk about financial planning for children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews.
Okay.
So, and along with that, if for example, financial planning for children who are disabled or have special needs, that's an area all on its own. So we're going to have some financial planners talk about all the different issues that might tie in with children and grandchildren.
Okay, sounds like a very robust and full morning.
Yeah, well, we hope so. And even if we think that more and more seniors are encountering these issues.
Well, and those are difficult issues. I suspect that one, they don't know, but two, maybe it's easier not to confront some of those issues, and maybe they're not well prepared to deal with them. So it sounds like a very useful session. So
and I've even had people come into my office and they didn't want to know the answer for themselves, but they wanted to know the answer for their child.
Right, they have a sense of responsibility to.
Yeah.
I've kind of got a mess, but I don't want to hand it to the next generation.
Yeah.
Okay. Save that, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about details of what a participant might expect. We've got to go to a break right now, but we'll come back in a few minutes and have the rest of that conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laurie Blackburn from the Spec Cadron Investment Group here in Alexandria. Today we're going to talk about how asset allocation and making some upfront decisions about the level of risk you're taking can help you withstand market volatility. Markets have been going up for 6 years now, but we know they won't keep going up forever. So when the news makes you more and more anxious about the economy or markets or your investments, what's the best way to respond? A lot of times we'll have clients ask, so what do you think the market's going to do in the next month? What do you think the market's going to do in the next year? And we've all been doing this long enough that we know what we don't know, because we don't know what the market's going to do. We may have some ideas or a guess, but we're not going to plan your financial futures around our guesses. So if you can give me the following information, then I can tell you how the market's going to do in the next year. What are interest rates going to be? Inflation rates, job growth, income growth, the price of oil, what's going to happen in Greece, what's going to happen in the EU, China, the Middle East, Russia? Is there going to be an outbreak of war, unforeseen events such as terrorism, Ebola, natural disasters, political upheaval, or industry-specific issues like new regulations or technology? So all you have to tell me is what that's going to be in the next year, and then I can predict for you what the market will do in the next year. So obviously that's not something that any of us can know. So the point is to find a course that's good for you and then stick with it. Your asset allocation is how you divide your assets between stocks, bonds, cash, any other holdings. And so your asset allocation is what decides 92% of your investment performance. That's the old statistic we've always used. And that's something you should be deciding now, what the asset allocation is, what the level of risk is. You don't decide that when the market is down or in response to a falling market. We know the market will fall. It's just a matter of when that happens. And your asset allocation should not change in response to market conditions. If you change investments because the market's changing, then you're going to be one of the millions of people who buy high and sell low. And that's much more likely to happen when you don't plan in advance. So another piece of advice we give people to make them feel a little bit more secure about having some growth investments or having some level of risk or volatility in their portfolios is to make sure they have enough cash, because you want to be in the position where you don't have to sell in a declining market in order to meet your income needs. We know markets are going to decline, so let's prepare for it by having enough cash. And also, I would remind you what the people at CNBC do for a living. A lot of times we will have calls from clients about The news from China is terrible. Don't you think we should step back from the market a little bit? How is this thing in Europe going to work out? Is the EU going to dissolve, and how will that affect markets? And they're watching the news on whatever network it's on, and it sounds like whatever's happening is dire and horrible. But then I would remind you, how do they make their money? They make their money from advertising revenues. Advertising revenues go up when there's more drama that you feel like you have to watch. So by making sure there's a crisis that you need to tune in and find out about, that's how they make their money. They just focus on the catastrophe du jour. So surviving market volatility is affirmative decision making that happens before a crisis comes and keeping a cool head when things aren't looking good. That's what Warren Buffett does, and it's the sensible way to make sure that you have a successful financial plan.
Hi, and welcome back to Book of the Month Club with Alex. I'm Alex Garcia, Meals on Wheels Program Coordinator for Senior Services of Alexandria. This past month, I've been reading Favorite Dog Stories by James Herriot. This book has been my favorite so far. Dr. James Herriot grew up in Scotland and Britain, so many of his stories involve the countryside and sheepdogs. One dog, Jack, even rides around in a pram pushed by his owner. Another dog, Jock, would chase cars off the property, sprinting for a mile at a time, hopping over stone walls, cutting corners to catch up with the car. When Jock and another dog had puppies, Jock's puppies would follow him, learning how to chase the cars all the way to the end of the driveway. My favorite story in this book is of a golden retriever named Roy in a chapter entitled Rags to Riches. Mr. Herriot was summoned to an old shed where an inspector had found Roy, only a year old, chained in the darkness. His coat was matted and he had many sores on his body, but his eyes were extremely trusting, according to Dr. Herriot. The inspector recommended that he be put down, but Mr. Herriot had a different idea in mind. Mrs. Donovan, an acquaintance of his, was an extremely curious older widow, and she knew she could nurse the dog back to health. She spent 2 months in her house with Roy, working his coat to the shiny golden color we all know, with her magical shampoos and conditioners, feeding him hearty steaks and biscuits, and even a warm bowl of milk each night. Roy and Mrs. Donovan were inseparable, as you can imagine. If you haven't had a chance to read this book yet, I highly recommend it. It is very entertaining, easy read, and the book contains illustrations of each dog by Leslie Holmes. Now I want to switch gears into the next month's book, which seems like it's going to be another good one. It's called About Face by Donna Leon. This book is the last of 18 mysteries starring Commissario Brunetti, who travels to Venice and Vienna to figure out why these incinerators are working at full capacity, burning we don't know what, releasing dangerous levels of toxins into the air. While trying to unravel the connection between a mysterious woman and the illegal hauling of garbage, Brunetti soon finds himself in the middle of an investigation into murder and corruption more dangerous than anything he's seen before. Doesn't this sound really interesting? I hope you will enjoy this book. It's available in regular print, large print, and audiobooks are also available. Thank you so much for tuning in to this month's Book of the Month Club. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please email or call me at 703-836-4414 extension 112, and my email is mealsonwheels@seniorservicesalex.org. I can't wait to see you next month.
Hi, this is Mary Ann Beatty from Senior Services of Alexandria, and I'm here with your October Community Calendar. Senior Services is co-sponsoring Senior Law Day with the Alexandria Bar Association on Saturday, October the 17th. This year's topic is Family Law, Planning Early and Often. It's the 5th annual event taking place at First Baptist Church of Alexandria on King Street from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. It's a great event that will feature a panel of experts talking about everything you need to know about family law, from remarriages and preparing prenups to grandparents who are caring for their grandchildren. The event is free with a light refreshment served. So we ask that you register on our website at seniorservicesalex.org, or call our office at 703-836-4414, extension 111. A fun event that takes place in the city is the Alexandria Knitting Club. The club meets on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Mount Vernon Rec Center. Knitters of all skill levels are welcome. You can call the Rec Center for more information and details and to hear about what other clubs the Alexandria Rec Department is hosting. If you're looking for a volunteer opportunity this fall, you might consider tutoring a child at one of the local Alexandria public schools. The Alexandria Tutoring Consortium pairs up volunteers with elementary school-aged kids to help with their reading. You can read to a kindergartner or a first grader every week for about 30 minutes. And we're asking volunteers, if they're interested in this, that they commit to the child throughout the school year. You can find more information on their website at alexandriatutors.org. If you're looking for other volunteer opportunities, you can go on Volunteer Alexandria's website. The website and their phone number is listed on the screen below. They have numerous opportunities for volunteering, from working in gardens to tutoring children to helping with animals, and it's just a great way to give back to the community. That's your October community calendar. We'll talk to you next month. Thank you.
Well, we're back, and I'm here with Chris Wright. His firm is Vogelman, Turner, and Wright. He's the Wright in the firm, and we're talking about a view of the Senior Law Day that will happen on October 17th at First Baptist Church, and Chris is one of the organizers of that. He's putting together a very useful and active program this year on family law. So a lot of information will be provided. Who's going to be the audience? Who comes? Who would you like to have come to this?
So we think the audience this year could be multiple generations. So
Not just seniors.
Not just seniors.
Okay.
We try to design a topic that is useful to everyone.
Right.
It's called Senior Law Day, and the event is put on between the Alexandria Bar Association and Senior Services of Alexandria. But we think this year's topic is going to apply not just to seniors, but their children and maybe even their grandchildren, depending on the age.
So multi-generational would be
Yes.
an aspect of
Absolutely.
it. How many usually come? I mean, is it limited to a number of people, or is it?
No, it's definitely not limited. Last year we had a little bit over 100 people attend.
That's quite good.
So a lot of work goes into the event, and we do our best to put on, to bring in very knowledgeable speakers.
Is it just the panels, or is it our opportunity for the audience to ask questions or interact with the panel and ask questions?
Now, after each panel is finished, there'll be a Q&A session, maybe about 5 minutes for the audience to ask questions of the panelists. And then always when the event finishes up, which usually is around 12:15 or 12:30, the speakers are generally stick around, and they can speak one-on-one with anybody in the audience.
You mentioned some of the issues related to family. What sorts of custodial issues, inheritance issues, marriage, divorce? I guess it gets into all aspects of family life. What are some of the issues that you see either in your practice or will be covered by the panelists that folks might be interested in knowing a little bit more about?
Well, usually what I see is, especially in the area of family law, is just people wanting to understand what some of the lawyer lingo is, what are some of the basic rules involved in legal topics. I mean, the event isn't going to delve into too many details, but people usually, it's good if they have information that comes straight from an attorney in a setting like this, as opposed to, say, just Googling it on the internet.
Law.com?
Yeah, law.com. And so, for example, if if someone is getting divorced, their first question might be, I've been married 25 years. I don't even know how to start the process. Or I've heard that you split assets, but what does that mean? What am I going to keep?
There's probably safety in that it's not personal. You can ask a lot of questions, and one, you might be anonymous to the rest of the audience, or if your husband or wife is there,
Right.
and you're asking particular questions, that hopefully that won't happen. But it seems that this is a forum in which you could have a more free exchange
Right.
of maybe some sensitive topics.
No, I agree, and even it might even be a case where, say, I'm a grandparent and my son is getting a divorce, and what does that mean for my grandchildren? How often will I get to see them? Is my son getting good advice? How do I know that my son is getting good advice? Should I even encourage my son to get an attorney? How much do these things cost? Sort of the basic questions just these initial questions that your family is going to face.
Well, and I think there's safety in having a panel, and it's not a personal conversation. It's for benefit of drawing out information.
Sure.
It would hopefully help the conversation. Will there be handouts or preparation or readings or
Well, we
reference material?
always give out a significant amount of free material
Okay.
when people register, and then when they register and they attend the event, they come through the front door and they're given a bag, and there's always reading material in there. And in addition, we always have some sponsors, and we also have members of the city attend different city departments. Like, for example, the sheriff's office usually attends and everybody has little free giveaways.
So there's like booths around
Yes.
with information at those, and either hand out literature or give you the website or...
Right,
Okay.
right.
Who are some of the sponsors that you've lined up so far?
So usually, this year we're still working on the sponsors,
Okay.
but usually we have some law firms that sponsor the event, banks or financial institutions. We don't really limit the people who can sponsor the event. Anybody that thinks that their product or service is available to our audience is more than welcome to sponsor.
How do people get to know, other than, of course, this program?
Right.
How do you promote it, or how do people learn about it? Do people come year after year and repeat, or how do you find the audience identify?
So we of course, Senior Services of Alexandria publicizes the event through all of their different outlets. We also usually run columns in the local Alexandria newspapers, word of mouth, and then on the Senior Services Alexandria website, you can find more information. I think it's seniorservicesalex.org.
Okay. Do you get any kind of feedback from the audience, or is there press coverage of it? Is there any kind of follow-on or evaluation, or help you get feedback in terms of planning next year's program?
Oh yeah, we always have what do you call the
Evaluation.
evaluations? Thank
Right.
you. Yeah, we always have evaluations and
paper you have to fill out and hand in,
they fill
hopefully.
out and hand in.
Right.
And we always look at those and try to make improvements from year to year.
Okay.
The past couple years we've done different topics. One year was focused on scams of elderly people.
Okay.
Last year we focused exclusively on estate planning. This year we'll also talk a little bit about estate planning. It's not going to be the biggest focus, but
it seems like it'd be impossible not to get it. If you're talking about custody, divorce, family relations.
You always got to have a will.
Yes, of course. So
medical directives and those sort of things.
Well, that sounds like a very full and exciting program, and I'm sure hopefully the audience will come and participate in that, and I think you've given us a good overview of what to expect that day. So I want to thank you for coming and being with us, and all of you should sign up immediately for Senior Law Day. There's no limit, but you still want to get a good seat. So Chris, thank you very much for coming and sharing that information with us.
Thank you for having me.
Look forward to Senior Law Day.
Thank you.
2015.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.